Welcome, welcome. I am Dena, and this is Discussions with Dena. I am live, and today is Social Sunday. This is the day that I set aside to speak on topics that are of concern to me that are on social media and in the news media. It is an opportunity to discuss what topics have caught my eye or topics that I have found very interesting. I want to welcome you and invite you to subscribe, like, or share. You can also come in and chat with me live. If you want to share your thoughts on any of the topics being discussed today, feel free to. I would love to hear your point of view. Now you can look and listen, and you can subscribe to me on YouTube as well as on Spotify. Now, you can press the bell on YouTube 2 times to get an alert whenever Discussions with Dena is going live, or listen to me on Spotify. If you like this podcast and you would like to show your support for Discussions with Dena, please feel free to donate on the Cash App at $ Discussions with Dena or paypal.me/Discussions with Dena. Your support is always appreciated. Now, today on Social Sunday, one of the things that caught my eye on the news and on social media has been the cases of the coronaviruses that are growing. That we are aware of the ship that's in it's called the Princess Cruise Ship in Japan, and the total people that were infected has risen drastically. They're saying that the cases in Japan, oh my God, the number is huge. This virus is moving fast. It's making a lot of people sick very quickly. Now, the total infection on the ship that's called the Princess Cruise, that's one of the ships that is docked in off the coast of Japan, it has now risen the total to 285. There are 67 new cases, including 5 Americans. That was last night. Imagine what it is today. Now, ABC News reported that there is believed to be an estimated 67,000 people infected and 1,523 people have died, mostly in mainland China. This is the information that they have. That doesn't mean that there may not be more. And China reported that over 1,700 medical workers on the front line have become sick from the virus, and 6 have actually died. It's so bad that they were welding people's front doors shut. They were welding them in the house so they wouldn't leave. They were trying to crack down on people not obeying the quarantine rule. And so they were actually rounding up people that could possibly be contaminated with this virus. And I saw they had this instrument where people would lean out the door and they would actually put it on their forehead. They were doing fever checks at people's homes that have been quarantined. And I see that there's also a demand for more masks. ABC News also reported that the CDC has been trying to get people on the ground there in Japan. I think they're trying to assist in the problem. I don't know, but CDC, we know that's the Center for Disease Control. Now, there was a plane that took 400 American passengers from that ship that is contaminated, that has been quarantined in Japan. They sent the plane and they had the people airlifted from the docked ship and brought them back here to America. These people are said to be that they're going to spend another 14 days in quarantine when they get here. So it's here. They're definitely bringing it here. Now they're saying, the CDC is saying that the risk here in America is still low. I don't agree with that, but they announced that they will be testing for COVID-19 in 5 major cities where flu tests were negative. The cities are Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. So even if you test negative for the flu or have flu-like symptoms, you will be tested for the China coronavirus too, which is something I think they should have been doing all along. They also say that Hawaii is now on alert because one person there tested positive for coronavirus as well, and he stayed on the island of Oahu. So this stuff is spreading. We must be careful. That coronavirus, I mean, it's on the move. It's amazing how quickly this is spreading. I think it may be having a little help. So I would just recommend everybody practice good hand washing techniques, and we have to be aware when we're out in public what we're doing with our hands, and it's just hard to not get this if you're around other people, because you don't know who you are around when you're going to the grocery store, when you're shopping or running errands, and you don't know errands. You don't know what people have touched and haven't touched. So it's just a really tricky thing right now. Just do all you can to protect yourself. I even see where they're saying that you can contact it through the eyes, and that's amazing to me. But that's one of the stories that caught my eye this week. Now, I saw another story that was kind of heartbreaking. It was of a 6-year-old girl by the name of Nadia. This little girl was placed in a mental facility after throwing tantrums at school. This was a school in Jacksonville, Florida. These people called the police on this 6-year-old little girl, and the news actually showed this little girl through police cam. They showed this little girl being led out to the police car. This little 6-year-old girl. I mean, the body cam footage is what they were showing. But she was being led out because she was going to be committed to a mental health facility for 2 days, where she would spend 2 days, 48 hours in isolation. They said that she was throwing a tantrum and that she was throwing chairs. So an outside medical professional made the call to have this child committed. The school said she was a threat to herself and to others. Mind you, this is considered to be a special needs child. Now, in Florida, there's a law called the Baker Act. And this law permits someone to be detained up to 72 hours because of mental illness. And these schools are using this in Florida. And I see that they're reporting that as many as 36,000 children are committed to mental facilities every year using this Baker Act. Now, the mother said when they contacted her that it was actually happening, that they were in the midst of sending her child to a mental facility for throwing tantrums. She also said that they were changing the psychiatric medication for this child. And the school is saying that they did, in fact, reach out to the mother first because that is required by law. But this was so very disappointing to me. And the only question I could ask myself was, what has happened to good common sense and plain old discipline? This is just really too much. We have these children medicated to the umpteenth degree. And now we're sending them to insane asylums because of their behavior. Who are these people making these silly rules? Why are you sending 6-year-olds to insane asylum? It's sad. We have accepted this medicating of our children and giving them titles saying that they're mentally disturbed instead of teaching them how to behave and practicing good discipline. What has happened to us parents? I mean, what have we allowed this society to do to us and our children? They don't want parents to do their jobs. And I think they don't just so they can have an excuse to profit off our children's bad behavior. Because children misbehave. They're children, and we're there to guide them. Everything today they think can be remedied with medication. And it's sad. Sometimes these children just need a healthy dose of discipline from home that should be enforced um, when they're in the school system. But this society have things so backwards. We gotta teach, protect, and train our own children better. And what kind of society think this is acceptable? Where is common sense today in the outrage from the parents from this kind of behavior? I mean, I don't think that is acceptable. But I don't hear this outrage. I don't know because this child maybe she wasn't white enough. Sometimes that gets more attention. But this practice is wrong. And parents, we should be speaking out about this nonsense. We got to get back to discipline our children and take away this. It's like we got the people who are in the insane asylum, the patients that are running the hospital today. We got to change this narrative. I mean, I was utterly disgusted. What happened to disciplining your children? Or understanding that you got to teach children the correct way to behave. Children throw tantrums all the time. Ah, I don't know. We got to do better. I mean, we got to speak up when they making these silly laws that affect our babies. Because you know that it's going to affect our children more than any other group. They'll use that for that purpose. And these people are profiting big time. This therapy stuff, it's big business, believe me. They're profiting. So just think about all the people that make money off your baby being listed or put into this position that they're putting them in. First of all, they're taking the medicine. Who profit? They're going to school. Who profit? They're going to that so-called facility. It's much deeper than it appears. And we got to get back to some basic common sense, folks. Now, the next thing that caught my eye, which I thought was beautiful, a beauty shop owner in Washington, D.C., received a kidney from a friend who was also an employee. He thanked her by gifting her the salon she had managed for years. I thought this was very nice. Now, I think her name is Asia Williams. She gave the gift of life to Chet Bennett. Bennett owns a beauty college and several salons and was in need of a kidney transplant after being on dialysis for over a year. Now, Williams found out that she was a perfect match and gave her kidney to this man who owned the salon that she previously managed it. At least that's what the news report said for her. She managed it in April. So as a thank you for saving his life, Bennett actually fulfilled a dream of hers and surprised her by actually giving her the salon. And last week, Williams and Bennett cut the ribbon on her new salon in Washington, D.C. And I thought that was very beautiful. It's called A New Image by Asia. It's spelled ACIA. So if I am pronouncing it wrong, please excuse me. It's not my intent. But I wanted to say that was a wonderful thing to see, that she saved his life and he assisted her in achieving her dream. That's wonderful. And I want you to know that these are Black people. So it was even more special because we don't often see touching stories like these when it comes to our people. And I like to see and hear stories like this about us. You know, the news, some often, most majority of the time, they slant stories that depict us in a certain way. They want us to be depicted. Usually we're depicted negatively. Usually when we see ourselves in the news or on TV, it's bad news, or it's news that seems scripted and almost rehearsed, or it speaks to their thoughts and opinions but not our own. And I find it to be not really about us. And they often like depicting us in a manner that shows us as a charity case. And it's like there's always a good non-black or a white person that's helping us. So the story is really not about us. It's more about the good white folks. So this was heartwarming for me, and I thought it was beautiful to see. And this reminded me of something that I am noticing all over TV, ads, and media. Now, I was watching a children's cartoon on one of the cartoon channels, and I could not help but notice the number of commercials between the show. Now, I prefer to watch children's shows in advance of allowing my children to see them. That way I can determine if it's too violent, if it has a particular message that it's sending that I don't want them to see or know. And I make the choice if it's something I think they should see or not. And not only do I do this with cartoons, but I do it with kid movies, what they label kid movies. Because people are always sending messages to our kids that sink into their subconscious. And they're sneaking small sexual suggestions or that gay agenda, or they referencing stuff that they'll have stuff that's labeled kid friendly when in fact it's not necessarily kid friendly. And I recommend all parents do this. And some people are like, I don't want to watch those kids, but I'll watch those movies just so I can protect their little minds from what others are trying to offer them, or the seed others are trying to plant within them. But what I noticed is that there are a lot of ads that I am seeing that have commercials with mixed people, mixed children, mixed women, and black men, or a white woman and a black man. But there were no commercials the entire time I was sitting there watching this one cartoon that depicted just the black family. None. I mean, there was no black woman, black man, and black child. That is the black family to me. And none of these commercials had these black people, black man, black woman, black child. All of the commercials contained people that were mixed. I mean, even the ads for medicine or food, there were a large number of commercials, and I could not help but wonder, where are the black people? Where's the black family? They were missing. And I said, that's sending a message. I came to the conclusion that someone has decided that these mixed people are to take the place of you and I, black woman, black man, and black children. And that's just not acceptable. And no, I'm not saying that I hate or I dislike mixed people, because that is not the issue. And I do not. But it's not fair to call them black. I don't think it's fair to call, like, I never thought it was okay to say Obama was the first black president, because he's not. Or Halle Berry is black. We have to admit these people are mixed. And I think calling mixed people black allows others to steal our identity. I mean, the real black people identity. Real black people like myself. You know how we are defined, and I love it. Because I like seeing kinky hair and dark melanated skin represented daily. I want to see a whole family of beautiful, kinky headed black people with thick nose and huge lips like mine. Someone that looks like me, not a mixed breed or hybrid of me. I like to see the braids or the plaits that little black girls wear. I like the little bows and beads. I like all of that that represent black people. It's all cute to me. I love seeing little girls in those little plaits with the ball and the um, hair bow at the end. To me, that's beautiful. I love seeing it. And then see those cute little baby boys. I like when they have that little haircut, a fresh haircut. And then they have the prettiest brown eyes to me, most of them. Now, we do have different eye colors, but I like all of that that represents our blackness. It's beautiful to me, and I want to see more of it. And I'm not the only one that adores this. I remember one commercial in particular where this white lady was sitting on the couch talking to what I assumed to be her husband. And she was saying, "You don't have to get me nothing for Valentine's." And then all of a sudden, these black men just start singing. And, anyways, I was expecting her to have a white husband sitting next to her. But nope, once again, it was a black man. And he was being depicted as her husband or her black boyfriend, whichever. I just find that to be a little disheartening, malicious, and quite frankly, I think it was delivering a message to the subconscious of the people watching. These are the little subtle messages that have the greatest impact on our psyche and the psyche of our children. So I know that nothing we see on TV is put there by coincidence. It's calculated, it's deliberate, and I want to suggest that we as black people seek out shows that depict the black family. And I'll be specific again when I say the black family, I'm talking about a black man, a black woman with actual black children. And I don't mean mixed families. You know, sometimes we'll say, well, she's mixed and he's white, or he's mixed and she's black, but those are partially black. I'm talking about a black man, a black woman, and a black child. Now, I don't have any problem with anyone mixed who identifies themselves as black. I'm speaking to the imagery and the subconscious message that it is sending to ourselves and to our babies. And to be perfectly honest, I think it is an attempt to steal our identity. And many may not even be aware of this. But I seek out real black families, and I don't want mine bombarded with this mess, because I know this has an effect, and it indoctrinates them into thinking that something is wrong with their beautiful melanated black skin. I'm talking about our babies, our children, when they see this constantly. And I do believe that classifying mixed people as being black is wrong, and it takes away our identity and some of theirs. And it gives black children the wrong impression that anyone who is mixed should be called black, but you can't call yourself white. If you're 50% black and 50% white, why can't we say you're white? What you are is mixed. And that's what I feel like you should be called. Why can't we call you white? You're 50% black, you're 50% white. Why are you called black? Wouldn't you be equally as white as you are black? So I think that this mindset, and I've said before, is rooted in this wicked white supremacy nonsense. So we have to accept our blackness and encourage it and love it and represent it in media. This is it. This is exactly why I say it's important that we produce our own media. We have to have control of what we see so we can actually depict ourselves positively and change the narrative that our black children have. We need to see ourselves on TV. We need to have it where our children feel comfortable in who they are. Because the way it is depicted now, I think it gives the average black child the impression that something is wrong with your beautiful black skin, your broad nose or lips, and your hair. The ability to see yourself consistently and constantly in media, in books, and commercials, and in TV shows, it can give you that boost, that self esteem. And we don't see enough of it. We need to see ourselves on packaging, in product merchandising material. Cookie packages, magazines, even on clothing or food items. It boosts the self esteem and it gives us pride in ourselves. Anything that we use or that we utilize in our day to day activities, we need to be represented on it. We have to do this ourselves, black people. This is how we own our narrative and change this wicked white supremacist thinking, that mindset that destroys the mind of black children. We have to change that narrative, and it's going to take me and you doing this consistently. It encourages us to accept our own black self and be our own black self. Now, I hear black folk using the excuse that merchandise don't sell as fast or it won't sell with black people on it. The question is why? It's because someone taught us to value money or others over ourselves. But I personally love to see black people on what I buy. And I love it when I see that black people have created it themselves. A black person has created it. And I'll spend my money on that because I know they benefit from what I am purchasing. Now, I asked the question, do you think that Mexicans or Koreans have a problem buying products designed for themselves and specifically things that show them on the merchandising? No, they don't. And I know this has something to do deeply with what they did to us. And people don't like for us to say slavery, but slavery had an effect and it's still affecting us today. But we're the only people that can change that. So don't hesitate to put your beautiful faces on merchandising. I actually saw a young lady that said that things wouldn't sell with black folks on. Sometimes you got to put that money thing aside for the sake of the people and the greater good of future black children. You have to stand up and begin to acknowledge that this is bigger than the profit. And we have to start the process of not just appealing everything to the masses, but for the sake of your black self and our black children. Black people, point blank. I think we will learn to support each other. And we have to practice and we have to push it out there and let people know this is how you build and change the narrative that has been consistently taught to us that have us thinking that something is wrong with us. It's got to be us. Now, some of us got to make sacrifices. You may not make as much money to start with, but it will get there. And at what point do we accept this? At what point do we begin to acknowledge this? Now, I know business and marketing, that's what they teach you. It's all about the profit, the bottom line. But who really is profiting from our self-hate or our lack of representation? And I'm speaking to those of you like myself who believe we have a duty to teach our black children and our black people to love, accept, and procreate with others that look like them. It is us that have that duty to depict ourselves in what we use and what we see daily. And we have to learn to support each other. This is true. But how are we going to ever learn this if we don't start? Now, we got to support those who depict us, the black man, the black woman, and the black child in their merchandising and any form of retail in a positive manner. Because they don't hesitate to put us on the cover of the hair they're trying to sell to us. You hate us so much, but you put us on those covers. Now we're the only ones that can change this nonsense. And let me just remind you that this is sending a message to your black babies. And let's work hard to send the message of black love and black acceptance, and accept that your black is indeed beautiful. Because it is. It is our job to prepare and teach and guide our babies. And that includes giving them a good understanding of acceptance of self and the people that look like them. Now, today I'm not going to tarry because there are many out here who are celebrating Saviour's Day, and I want to wish everyone a very happy Saviour's Day, along with peace and blessings, and may you have safe travel in your coming and your going. Happy Saviour's Day. I can't wait to hear the message today, and so I'm going to wrap this up so I can get to it. But I just wanted to speak on this so-called gender divide. This is an issue that's very deep, and I think all of us have a opinion about it that we may not want to share. But I see it being played out on social media. And that's a topic I would like to delve into a little bit more. But I'll save that for later. I do think it's a bunch of nonsense, and I also think that it's deliberately being done. But this is something we need to discuss in depth, and I don't think one, two, or three conversations about it is enough. But I think this is a subject that I will speak on later, and I will encourage others to speak on it and give your own, what they say, 2 cents about it. Tell me what you think, because this is something we're going to have to stop. There's a lot of nonsense, and I think a lot of people are doing this for profit. So we're going to delve into that a little. But for now, I want to remind you that I am here each and every Sunday at 2 p.m., and I invite you to join me. You can subscribe, like, share, and listen to this podcast on Spotify at Discussions with Dena. You can friend me on Facebook, tweet with me on Twitter at Dena Discussions, and on Instagram at Discussions with Dena or Dena Discussions. I love hearing from you, and I want to thank you for all the messages that I receive. I do read them, and I want to thank you for listening. I will see you next time right here on Discussions with Dena, Sunday edition.